Hey, how's it going, everyone? It is Draco. We're back with another chapter of Fairy Tale 100-Year Quest. Chapter 177, Fairy Flame Invitation. The cover page for this chapter has Urza in the snow on it. It also kind of almost looks like Rome, because you have, the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Kind of an almost Christmassy cover that we got here, even though we're out of that season now, but it has been incredibly cold, so I guess it's fitting in that aspect. I think it's a pretty okay cover, so let's get into the actual chapter. So the chapter opens with the face reveal of Wed, which I'm pretty sure that absolutely no one predicted who was under the mask for Wed. And Urza straight up says that he looks very similar to Ignia. She even calls him Ignia, but Wed don't got time for that, and he just immediately goes to attack Urza. And apparently his name is literally based off of what type of dragon he is, aka Wed being Warm Earth Dragon, which that is one of the most specific dragons we have ever had, like Fire Dragon, that's pretty obvious, but Warm Earth Dragon, that is super specific. And a very interesting bit of lore here is that his dad was Ignia, but his mother was a human, so he couldn't be a human or a dragon. And honestly, that's been something I've been wondering for the longest time, is if you have a parent that is potentially a dragon or a dragon slayer, what is their kid going to turn out as? So does that potentially mean that Urza has some dragon gene in her somewhere? Who knows? And he's very excited about being a dragon. He says that he can finally be one now. And honestly, Wed seems to have quite the identity crisis to where he wasn't fully a human, but also not fully a dragon. He was kind of in between there. And since his dad was a dragon god, he couldn't stand being a human because of that, which has Urza question his motives, because before, when he was not a dragonized human, he really wanted to fight her to figure out who is the strongest, but apparently turning into a dragonized version of himself completely changed his goals and motivations to where he really became cocky incredibly fast, to where he says, yes, the old me would have loved to have challenged you, but since I'm a dragon now, you're no match for me. And he does an attack called Extreme Fire Dragon Scale Sword, which, dang, that's got a lot of firepower behind it, and that is a gigantic sword for Urza to try and block, which she doesn't really block all that well. aka it has a giant crater in the ground, and she is massively beat up, which is where we cut back over to Ignia and Ferris, which they finally acknowledge that they've just had this little stare down, and they've yet to even throw a single attack towards one another yet. And before they even get to attack one another, Ignia just straight up bails. He doesn't got time for Ferris, and he's got other priorities to deal with because he's sensing someone else's presence. But it's not too big of a deal because Ferris has someone to deal with immediately, to where she literally has someone wrapped around her body already. And that person turns out to be the leader of the Fire Dragon God's squad, that being Bestia, which honestly her design very much reminds me of Black Clover. If you've seen any of the devils in that show, she kind of reminds me of that. Even the magic that she's doing here towards a form of teleportation magic, it kind of looks like black flames, to be honest. And again, going back to Black Clover, almost kind of the devil dark magic stuff. And they seem to be taking a page of the Alvarez and Spriggan 12 playbook, particularly the Irene playbook, to where just teleport your enemies away. In the same time they're teleporting away is right when Natsu runs into Ignia, and he's preparing to have this massive battle with him. He's like, oh, my moment is here. And Ignia don't got time for Natsu, because he just straight up books it past him. And Natsu's kind of offended, like, what? He completely ignored us. And the final panel of this chapter is Ignia questioning if that power could be who he thinks it is. And we don't get to know who Ignia is potentially chasing after, but it has to have someone of a very high power scale, I would feel. And with that, it is the end of this chapter, so my thoughts. As for who Ignia is chasing after, I'm going to say there's a pretty high chance it's probably Acnologia. Who would be a high enough power to where Ignia would drop fighting Ferris, which is a very important battle for him to win, Why would he drop that unless if it was someone that could potentially probably kill him or put a massive damper on his plan? Theoretically possible, you could get Acnologia back, because, I mean, Natsu defeated in the time rift version of Acnologia, but like the physical body of him got sealed in Fairy Sphere. And this whole dragonization Lacrimose stuff that he's been doing has brought people back from the dead already, because like Alderaan and previous dragon gods that were already defeated have been brought back. So I mean, it's not unheard of that this magic is so different and unique that it potentially could have caused Acnologia or someone of that caliber to come back. I'm going to say it has to be someone of a dragon caliber for him to even potentially acknowledge them, let alone chase after them. As for Ignia's son, Wed, kind of interesting, and kind of an interesting fact to learn about, I guess, genetics as to how that gets passed down from a dragon and a human. This also potentially could reveal the motivation for why Ignia does not like humans, because maybe he was very much like Natsu at first, where he really liked humans and even potentially married and had a kid with one, but then something turned and made him have a disdain for them. Who knows? So what are your guys' thoughts about this chapter? Leave in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and this is Drago, signing out.